confidence quotes. Sometimes we just need little boosters, little practical notes in your pocket that get you through the day. So I want to share some, you might call them memes or memetics, that help boost your confidence on a daily basis in real life situations, give you more courage in any given moment. I'll start with some questions that you can ask yourself throughout the day or in certain situations to like prompt you to be more courageous. And then some statements, little things that you can remind yourself of throughout the day, or again, bring up in certain situations to kind of push you through a fear barrier. Here's my favorite question of all time. I made it up myself, and it was the key fundamental question that's prompted my self-development. What would a confident guy do right now? You can apply this in pretty much any fucking situation. And even if you're not really sure what a confident guy is, an answer will pop into your head. It might just be a theory kind of thing, a draft. But an answer will always pop up, a guess at least. And bravery would be to try and do that thing. Now, being wary that it might be asking too much, you can at least try a version of it. I remember one of the first times I asked myself this question back in my single days where I was trying to overcome my fear of talking to girls. I was in a shopping mall and I saw 3 really pretty girls talking. And I tried to ask myself, what would a confident guy do right now? And the answer was like that. He would go talk to them. Now, I didn't have the courage to go and talk to them on that day, but I at least made eye contact. I think I at least made eye contact or waved a little bit. Or at the very least, I knew what I would do if I was confident. I kind of set a goalpost. Like, okay, that's the kind of behavior I'm aiming for, at least at this time in my life. So this question, what would a confident guy do right now, kind of gives you a marker of where you're trying to get to personally. In a very practical way, what's the actual behavior I could do, the thing I could say right now? And anything you can do towards that, even if it's 10% of what it is, means you're being a brave person. You're lining up with being a brave person. So you ask yourself that question 10 times a day and try to answer it with a behavior, your confidence is going to skyrocket. Adding on to that, here's a slightly longer-winded question. What's the smallest and most realistic version of that action that I could attempt right now? So you're dreaming of doing something big and brave and bold, but you're intimidated by it. Usually that's fear trying to discourage you, what I call the Everest effect. It's make it look like you got to climb a mountain. But if you can just ask yourself this question to access quantum parts courage, to break the thing down to something manageable, just go, what's the smallest version of this I could actually do? You're thinking, man, I've been out of shape for like 10 years. I want to get to the gym, work out, and so on. You're like, it's a bit too much to ask. Well, the smallest version is I could just put on my sneakers and just go for a walk around the block. I haven't been for a big walk in a while. I could at least just go for a walk, right? Or I could drop and do 10 push-ups. Or I could go to the gym with no obligation to do anything in particular. Maybe I just walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes and go home. Maybe I just do some stretches and then bail. As long as I just do some small version of this, anything more than 0 is progress. And then tomorrow I can ask the question again and see how much I can do. This is also a good way to get through like momentary dips in courage. Like maybe you're having a rough time of the year and you just can't do as much as you used to. A lot of people in self-development talk about only measure, compared to your past self, but sometimes that's an unfair measurement because your past self was crushing it and you just don't have those resources today. So rather than trying to like always beat your past, which is impossible, ask yourself, like, what am I capable of today? What small version of it? I want to work out, but I'm really sick. Could I at least eat healthy? Like, what's the closest I can get to it today that I'll actually follow through? It's an incredibly helpful question to remain a brave person. What action would I be proud of tomorrow? One way to look at self-development and confidence building is service to your future self, trying to make their life better. Trying to do today what I'll be happy I did tomorrow and what I'll be fucking stoked I did 10 years from now. When I look at my coaching business, which has been running for like 10 years now, and I think back to that Dan who handed in his notice at work to go full-time with coaching, I'm so fucking glad he did that. That was horrible for him, right? It just felt like he was stepping off a cliff. But he paid that price so that I've been able to do this for 10 years now. So I've got to think of myself 10 years from now. What I hope he wants. He wants to know that he spent quality time with his daughter and he's not going to regret missing the opportunity to connect with her. So every day, even though sometimes I'm too tired or it's a hassle or there's other things I want to do, I get down on the floor and I play with some Lego and I have fun with my daughter because I know 10 years from now I'll be like, fucking right on. I'm so glad you put that effort in. That was so much more important than the other shit you wanted to do. But the smallest version of this is just tomorrow's guy. You're just about to eat that chocolate bar and there's an apple sitting right there. What does tomorrow guy want you to do? Can you maybe just do what he wants instead of what you want? I mean, if you're already a people pleaser, make yourself the one you're pleasing, your future self. And then you can note it the next day like, fuck yeah, I'm so glad you ate that apple. Good on you, dude. And that is how you build self-worth. You're proud of your own behavior. Classic one is just, is this fear rational or imagined? So you're becoming a detached observer and just going, where am I getting this fear from? Is this from evidence? Is this a reasonable fear to have? Is this the kind of thing that causes lots of harm to people or myself? Or am I taking a big risk? You think about things that are objectively risky, like getting into a cage with a lion or base jumping or drinking bleach, right? These are things that no matter who you are, these are very dangerous things to do. And then you look at the thing that you're afraid of and go, where does it rank according to those things? Like you're afraid of applying for a promotion. Well, get on ChatGPT or Google and go, how many people died from applying for a promotion? Right? Actually have a look at how legit this fear is, how dangerous the thing is you're doing. Get some percentages going. Now, this might not necessarily help you overcome the fear, but a lot of overcoming fear is just not believing the story that the thing is dangerous. That's it. Just questioning that, not instantly believing every fucking thought you have as if it's just pure truth in there. So your brain goes, oh my God, that's scary. And you go, why? What's going to happen? Is something real going to happen? Do I have evidence to back this up? Or am I just imagining that something might happen and there's really not a good case for that? My last question, which is particularly for building courage just generally, which option is the least comfortable? Whenever you do anything, if you do it the least comfortable way, there's some sort of bravery being built. You can have a warm shower or a cold shower. Now, both ways you get clean, but the cold shower is more uncomfortable. You could brush your teeth with your left hand instead of your right. It's slightly more uncomfortable. Anything that, especially that's emotionally uncomfortable. I could laugh at the guy's joke or show the fact that I didn't find it funny. Right? I could walk the nice long way to the shops. It's all sunny and nice and social. I can walk through the dark alley that I'm a little bit intimidated by, even though it's not really dangerous. Constantly trying to look for an uncomfortable option you could choose just to endure more discomfort, just to rack up some discomfort points. The more discomfort points you rack up, the braver you are. It's as simple as that. Let's finish with some statements. You can have these printed out somewhere. You can have them on your phone as little reminders, little things that prompt you to just get through tough times and be a little braver. The Stoic classic, this too shall pass. Whether you're having a good time or a bad time, it's like a cloud in the sky. It is not going to stay there forever. This has really helped me with things like confrontations and other conflict situations that I find really uncomfortable. Is there's no way this is going to last forever. Even there's a time where 4 guys were beating the shit out of me. They're not going to beat me up forever, right? They've got to go home at some point. And it did come to an end. It only lasted like half a minute. It was a pretty horrible 30 seconds to be sure, but it went away. And there's been great times too. You have an orgasm, this too shall pass. This idea that a lot of bravery is just endurance. It's just about not running away during an uncomfortable thing. And just knowing that, hey, if I can just stay still, the other thing will move on. If I just stay still, that cloud that's raining on me will slowly move on and piss off. Your boss is lecturing you and you feel really uncomfortable. You just want to placate him and just say what he wants to hear so that he'll stop. Just stay silent. And you'll notice, hey, at some point he's got to go to the toilet. At some point he wants to go home. He doesn't want to have this conversation forever. Can you outlast him? Just outlasting is bravery. Just staying in longer than you want to is bravery. This too shall pass. Similar to that is the statement, this is no worse than anything I've survived before. It is very, very rare that you're hitting a personal best with suffering. If you're an adult, your best suffering is probably behind you. It's probably in childhood, right? There is sometimes exceptions to that, but most of you have already had your worst moment in life, really. And in fact, future worst moments will just be a result of previous trauma. There's studies that show that guys who are PTSD from war actually also have trauma from childhood, and the war has kicked off that trauma. Guys who don't have trauma from childhood don't get PTSD from war. So this idea that this is the worst thing that ever happened to you, that's very unlikely. And everything else that's happened to you that's worse, you got through it. I don't mean that you successfully won the result you wanted, but you're here now watching this, so you got through it. You're going to get through this thing as well. I've been in times where I'm just struggling. I really struggle at airports, right? Some people are afraid of flying. I'm afraid of fucking airports. I've had so many things go wrong at airports. It's just a consequence of traveling a lot, just stacking up the odds, and I'm disorganized. So I get to airports and I'm just, oh, fucking here we go, But I think about times where I've missed flights, think about times where I've lost passports, think about times where I was detained by customs and didn't know if I was going to be let into the country or not. I think, well, all of those are behind me. I must have survived them. So whatever fucking going to happen at this airport is probably not going to be the worst experience I've ever had in an airport. It's certainly not going to be the worst experience I've ever had in my life. And so if it's anything less than what I've already been through, then I'm going to get through this too. Enough time will pass and I will be in a position again in the future where I'm not suffering. Another statement, just show up and do as much as you can, then bail. Or you might call this permission to quit. See, most of bravery is just showing up. As cheesy as that sounds, it's just getting to the gym. It's just starting the conversation with the stranger. It's just registering your business online. It's the little thing that got the process started. Fear is mostly about stopping the process from beginning. And one of the tricks that fear will do is make you think that once you've started, you can't stop. You're not allowed to quit. In fact, we get conditioned with this as children. It's bad to quit. Actually, it's fine to quit. In fact, you need the permission to quit in order to be brave. You need to know that you will bail when it gets too much, that you will not force yourself to endure too much or more than you can handle. So if I'll just show up, take as much of it as I can handle, and then stop. Whatever amount of time that is brave moments. Let's say you're scared of going to your first dance class. Just show up to the dance class. You don't have to see it all the way through. You don't have to sign up to the 8-week course. Just dance as long as you can. And if it gets too much for you, you're allowed to make your excuses and bail. As long as you got that permission, then it's not so scary showing up. Knowing that you won't have to endure the whole thing, knowing that you're allowed to end it, knowing that you can register a business and then decide the next day, no, I'm going to stay an employee. You're allowed to do that, right? But make the decision after you've shown up. You might get to dance class and you get dancing like, this is all right. Okay, then stay to the end. But if you don't feel that way, then leave, because just showing up was a huge act of bravery. You've already made progress. Just start moving. This is a really important one for when you get frozen. And sometimes it means literally just physically move in some way, shape, or form. Do not sit still and allow your mind to just dominate your existence. Let's say you're scared of talking to a stranger. You're looking at them, you're starting to get all worked up in your mind, catastrophizing what might happen. You're just frozen on the spot. Just wake yourself up and go, move my feet. I don't care if I'm moving towards her or away from her or climbing the fucking ceiling. Get moving. Don't sit here and bathe in this fear. Any kind of movement in the direction that you want to be going. At this point, when you're already frozen with fear, it's going to be bravery points. Let's say you want that job promotion, but you just can't even think about doing it. You're just frozen there. At least open up the application, type your name in, get some movement going with no kind of obligation to actually follow through on the whole thing. Just don't ever stay still. Don't stay frozen. Frozen's the worst place ever. It's better off to quit and move away completely than to freeze. This one may or may not help. It works for me. I tell myself, whatever damage is done, I'll fix it. A lot of bravery, like what I talk about with my clients, is this idea of make a mess and then clean it up. A lot of people are trying to get perfection going in their mind before they take an action. Of course, they never move. But if you're allowed to do it imperfectly, you're allowed to do it messy with just basic knowledge, then you'll actually get moving, you'll make progress. And one way to ensure this is to make a promise to yourself, look, if it does go wrong, if everything goes to shit, I'll fix it. All right, I'm good at fixing stuff. Let's say I go to ask out that girl and she's deeply offended. I'll apologize and I'll talk to her until it's fixed, and I'll fucking pay for her lunch if that's what makes up. I'll do whatever it takes to make up for any damage I may or may not do. Right? This promise to yourself that you'll try your best to fix it. Because you usually can fix stuff, you just forget. When you're trying to be brave, you're like, oh, this big disaster will happen. Well, so what if it does? What will you do about that disaster? How will you fix it? Actually have that in mind as you start walking towards that potential disaster, right? It's okay. If it goes wrong, I'll fucking sort it out. Let's just see what happens. A lot of cowardice and a lot of anxiety comes from trying to get a result, trying to make something happen. If you switch into curiosity of like, let's just do an experiment, let's just see what happens. Any result's fine. I just want to know. That actually negates a lot of the fear, because a lot of the fear comes from the pressure to achieve the goal. You take the goal away, you take the pressure away, you take the fear away. So whenever you're trying to get a result and you're attached to outcomes and you're getting all panicky about it, just take the outcome away. Just go, you know what, let's just see what happens rather than trying to make something happen. I'll be proud of myself after. What you're looking to do with this statement is to put in your mind how you're going to feel about this later when it's all said and done, right? How you might feel about it tomorrow, or how you might feel about it 5 years from now. Like I've actually had the question earlier in the video, how can I make myself proud of myself tomorrow? You can actually tap into that feeling. So when you go to do the thing like, oh, I'm so scared of like telling my boss that I disagree with him, think, how will I feel after I've told him I've disagreed with him and the conversation's over and I'm back at my desk? How will I feel when I think about it tonight that I finally stood up for myself? And when that feeling comes up, move and act on it. And my final one, and this was a game changer for me, no matter what happens, it's better than a lifetime of cowardice. One of the things that really especially got me over my fear of rejection is that there's no rejection that's worse than a life not lived, than a thousand missed opportunities and wondering what if. The thing that used to haunt me the most, especially with girls and dating, is the amount of times that I did nothing and I'm not sure what would have happened. There is no rejection that's worse than that uncertainty, than lying awake at night like, fuck, I should have just said something to her. Thousands and thousands of opportunities down the toilet because I didn't act. At some point I thought, you know what? I'd rather hear no than have to guess what might have happened. One no is not as bad as lying awake at night, at least with the rejection or the bad consequence or whatever. I get to go home and go, fucking at least I tried. This is the guy I want to be. So it didn't go in my favor. At least I don't have to guess. And actually the result's no worse than if I had done nothing at all anyway. So of course, if you want help to become more courageous and you need more than just a few memes and notes to get through that, get in touch, dan@brojo.org, and I'll help you systematically build your courage over time.